All right, Grandpa George.
Uh,
How about giving me your full name?
George William Bland Jr.
And George William, I mean, obviously named after your dad, but is there, who was your dad named after? Anybody in particular? Or?
No, not that I know
And your birthday?
of. August 17th, 1926.
Okay, what can you tell me about your parents?
Nothing outside of it. He was in the Marines,
All right.
got wounded, gassed.
So he was in a World War I?
World War One, right.
And what about your mom?
Not too much, just a housewife.
How many brothers and sisters do you have, and what are their names?
Got 2 brothers and 1 sister, Robert, Thomas, and Patricia.
And who's the oldest?
I am.
Okay, and then?
Robert, then Patricia, and then Thomas.
So Tom's the baby, huh?
Right.
Oh, I didn't know that. And what have you done for a living in your life?
I worked in a factory. I was worked for Florsheim Shoe as a machinist for when I started out. Then went into electrical, mechanical switching devices, and was in business in that until I retired.
And how long ago did you retire?
About 25 years ago.
1986.
Yeah.
Wow. Where did you go to school? Where did you grow up? Where were you born?
In Chicago.
Right, you were born in Chicago then?
Born in Chicago, right.
Where did you go to school at?
Right, 5006 North Kenneth. I went to St. Edward's School, then St. Philip's High School, only for 1 year. And that's about it.
You then went to 1 year of high school?
Right.
Really?
Right.
I didn't know that.
Right.
And then you went and joined the Navy too then, right?
Right.
And what did you do in the Navy?
Got into trouble.
Yeah.
Was all over was in the European theater and also mainly in the Pacific theater.
Now that was in World War II.
World War II, right.
Now, were you drafted or did you enlist?
Enlist.
And why did you choose the Navy?
Because my father says it was better than sleeping in the dirt, and you got 3 square meals a day and a clean sheet every day.
Right, and father being a Marine, so.
Right.
And what was your MLS? What was your job in the Navy?
Oh, I was a gunner's mate at one time, and broke down to seaman. Got back up to coxswain and broke back down to seaman again.
Now, you were on a certain kind of boat.
An LST.
Which is what?
A landing ship tank.
And was there a specific one that you were on, a number and everything?
Yes, 230 was the number, and then I was on an LCI, which is a landing craft infantry, which is 1062.
Now those are the ones.
That was the name, the numbers. Of
LCT is the one that we got.
You got both of them.
Oh,
you
we
got
did?
the LST
Okay.
and the LCI.
Okay, so I can just show the kids pictures of those and stuff
Right.
too. Now, how long were you in the Navy for?
Just 2 years.
When did you enlist? Right before, or after Pearl Harbor?
No, after Pearl Harbor. I wasn't young. I wasn't old enough at the time. It was 1943, I think it was. The end. I got out in 46. It was just 2 years. It made the 2-year difference.
And any particular reason? Just because you wanted to go and fight for the country, or?
Well, at that time, everybody was patriotic, and it was, you know, we were told what we should do and had to do, and did it.
And then when you got out of the Navy, then what did you do?
Went back to work where I was working before, at C.P. Clare, in that electrical switching devices, and stayed there and met Lucille at C.P. Clare. Got married, and here I am.
What year did you meet Grandma Lou?
In probably 1948,
So how old were you then?
22, I think, 23. So we got married at 23, so it was probably 22.
So how long did you guys date for then?
Less than a month.
Really?
Right.
Wow.
Nobody thought it would ever last, including my parents, probably her parents.
Now, when you guys got married real quick like that, where did you guys live? Did you have your own place, or?
Yeah, we had an apartment which we got through a friend of mine, which apartments were hard to get at the time. It was on Broadway. What was the name
Montrose
of it?
and
Montrose and Broadway. And I forget what the
wasn't
number
Broadway,
was.
Montrose and something else, right before Broadway. It was like a 1.5 room, really. It was a 1.5
Furnished.
small kitchenette with a pulled down, what, the Murphy bed they call out of the wall.
Oh, we were there for about
At that time,
7-8 months.
At that time, they had separated several apartments into like 1 room and 1.5 room.
6-room apartment became a 6 individual homes.
3 or 4 room thing. And because during the war, it was very hard to get an apartment, and so they did a lot of that.
And after the war, it was almost impossible. You had to know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which you did, so that was good. So.
Somebody was getting married and moving out, and we were moving in.
Now, how many kids you guys have that you claim?
7. That I can prove.
And their names are?
Mary Lou, Georgia, Michael, Lynn, Diane, Mark, and Steve.
No, Mary Lou's the oldest?
Mary Lou's the oldest.
And who's she named after? Anybody in particular?
Lucille, and just a name Mary, I guess.
Okay. And then Georgia was next?
And not named after anybody outside of a friend of my aunt's.
I thought she was named after you.
No.
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 Any middle names that were significant, or off of Mary Lou and Georgia?
No.
How about Michael?
No, Michael was, I don't know, I think he was probably named after my grandfather. My grandfather's name was Mike.
Oh.
If that was even it. I don't know. I doubt it.
And
We are not very sentimental.
We just like the name Michael, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you had the twins?
Mm-hmm. Diane and Lynn.
Diane and Lynn, right.
Diane's the older one?
Diane's the older one. And I was a fan of a movie star's name. It was Diana Lynn. And
so you got them both, huh?
If we were going to have one, it was going to be Diana Lynn.
Hold on for a second. I'm going to move this
two.
back a little bit. Okay.
That thing ain't in the way, is it? That
No.
bottle?
I might be in the way now, but... So you guys met at work?
Yep. Our first date, we went to a union Christmas party. Not with each other.
Of course, you must say we worked together for a while before we dated. I mean, we worked at the same place and knew about each other, but didn't date.
Didn't date, didn't go with each other or anything, so.
Until a Christmas party, a union Christmas party, December 7th.
Oh, Pearl Harbor Day again, see?
And my Christmas of that same month, December 7th, Christmas time, we were engaged.
Boy, you didn't waste no time, huh?
I don't.
Don't mess around. Now, let's get back. We had the twins. We had Diane and Lynn, and you were saying?
Right, so when we found out we were going to have twins, and we thought, what other name would we like? We thought, well, we'll just split the name since we like the name. So that's how we split Diane and Lynn.
What's Lynn's middle name?
Marie, and Diane's is Louise.
And then you had Mark.
And we had Mark.
Named after anybody, or just?
No, we just liked that name. And same thing with Stephen. We just liked the name Stephen.
7 kids, good Catholics, huh?
Yeah, somebody told me that's what caused it. And I said, I'm glad I found out.
A little bit too late now, huh? Now, when you had the kids, you had the apartment, and then where did you go from there?
Well, we had that apartment for, not quite a year or so. And then my sister, who lived on Bernard and Montrose, was moving to Mount Prospect, and she had an apartment. And just so happened her apartment was in a building of the where we worked at C.P. Clare, my boss's mother-in-law had this house, and that's how I got her that apartment. And then when she moved out to Mount Prospect, we moved into it from Magnolia, from Montrose and Magnolia, is where we had the 1.5 room. So then we moved from Magnolia over to Bernard Street. It was a 2-story. We were on the 2nd floor. Very nice place, nice yard in front. And we lived there for we lived there. We had Mary Lou there in Georgia. We lived there for about not quite 2.5 years, just before Michael was born. Then we moved out to Palatine.
And raised a litter of boxers there in that apartment with the babies.
That was your home security, huh?
Right.
Now, Ma, what's your full name?
Lucille Rita Mary Sudar Bland.
Okay. And when were you born?
April 3rd, 1926. I am 6 months older than George.
Oh, see, you went for an older woman, huh?
I was the
I
last
don't
one.
fool around.
The last one that my mother had, and George was the first one that his mother had that same year.
Now, how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I have 2 sisters. I had 2 sisters. One is still living. She's going to be 87 years old.
And both of their names were?
And that's Charlotte Przinski, who lives right now in Stevens Point, Wisconsin.
Good beer.
And my next sister, Jeanette, is the middle sister. She's passed away, been gone since 1990 now. Jeanette Schwall.
Now, what about your parents? What are your mom and dad's
My
name?
parents, my dad came over from Europe. He was born in Croatia. Came over from Europe and migrated to Illinois, where he had a half-sister who was already living here on the south side.
And what was your dad's name?
And his name was John Michael Sudar. There you go. There's Michael.
And your mother?
And my mother, Frances Kostecki, was from a good Polish family. Came from a large family, had several sisters and brothers. They lived in Illinois, then they moved out to Wisconsin on a farm when it was discovered that one of the children had a health problem, and it was thought that living out in the country would be beneficial to her. So they all packed up then and moved out to Plainfield, Wisconsin, and lived there for several times. And my mother was old enough then, apparently around 18 years old. Then she came to Chicago to live with her mother's sister, my aunt, on the south side, and that's where she met my dad, on the south side.
What'd your dad do for a living?
My dad was a boiler maker. They repaired big boilers for different companies and everything. Used to
My dad was a salesman.
work on smokestacks and boilers and however all that entails. My mother was a waitress, and after they got married, she was a stay-at-home mom.
Now, can you tell me anything about your grandparents?
Not too much. My grandfather, I guess, was as I recall, that I can remember, was in some type of a real estate. They lived on like Hutchison, in Chicago, Hutchison, Milwaukee Avenue, and then they moved over to Costner and Division. And
Now, was this your dad's dad, or?
no, my mother's father.
Okay.
My dad's dad, they were still over in Europe. And my grandmother, he died. My grandfather died. I don't. Well, let's see. I was over 10 years old when he died, because I have a picture of him taken at my communion. So he died. Must have died shortly after that of stomach cancer. And my grandmother was a regular, typical little Polish grandmother, short and heavy, and didn't speak any English. And I don't recall what she passed away of, but and I don't recall exactly when either. I had several aunts, and most of them out of the aunts, there must have been, let's see, there was Aunt Harry.